Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara. Episode 10. Shri Mahaswami, the sage with eyes of light, the diary of a seeker of truth, Dr.Serge Demetrian. Dear devotees, now we shall listen to the second part of this divine book under the subtitle The Pilgrim's House. Contented with whatever comes, free from duality and envy, the even-minded seer may act, but he is not bound. Sri Ramana Maharishi. Sri Muruganar, The Garland of Guru's Sayings, verses 1166 by 26. The Pilgrim's House, Kanchipuram, Thursday, 23rd January 1969. My second darshan. 5 months after I had stood in front of Sri Mahaswami at Secunderabad, I obtained a second darshan, this time in Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is one of the 7 holy towns of India. It is said that one who dies there will never return to this world of suffering. The outward appearance of the town is not inviting. A multitude of houses clustered around, some not very clean lanes, in between which are the 108 temples of Shiva that the town is said to possess. On the western side of a large and beautiful reservoir, the Sarvatirtha is a garden which includes quite a large hut. It is the temporary residence of Sri Mahaswami. I am told that today he does not speak at all. For unknown reasons, we are not invited into the compound near the hut. Perhaps this was because I was a foreigner. So, my 2 friends from Madras and I stood waiting on the street. Sri Mahaswami, when informed of our arrival, came to the gate. I hastened to prostrate in front of him at about 3 meters away. He placed himself exactly in front of me and looked at me intensely. For 1 or 2 minutes, he seemed not to see anybody else, not even my friends from Madras who were prostrating near his feet. He breathed deeply. After his gestures of apology, which were imbued with so many gentleness, indicating that he had to leave, he waited for me to finish my prostration and slowly returned to the hut. Some dutiful visitors, their backs bent, followed him. All the time during this darshan, I stood straight, the hands together in a position of prayer. I was so concentrated on his eyes that I could not even pronounce any divine name. But after a few seconds, I had to lower my eyes to his feet. Even like that, I had all day a severe eye irritation. The air round the reservoir seemed purer and brighter. There seemed to be an ethereal cloud, invisible yet somehow perceptible, which influenced the entire area. It was as if the Mahaswami had waited for me and as if the last 5 months had been as long for him as they had been for me, albeit for different reasons. I became incredibly conscious as to how important his place was in my heart. My friends from Madras and I took our time visiting Kanchipuram. In the maze of lanes, one could discern a certain order. The old town, named Big Kanchipuram, is built round the temple of the great goddess Kamakshi. This is an almost perfect square surrounded with tall walls pierced by 4 openings. The temple towers, similar to truncated pyramids, surmount the gates and are called Gopura. They are characteristic of temples in the south of India. Around the central Kamakshi temple, there is a large circular avenue, Raja Street, which varies in distance from 60 to 300 meters from the temple. It is onto this street that the processions come out of the temple and parade the utsavs before returning inside. Between this temple and the circular avenue, the streets are small back lanes, alleyways and cul-de-sacs, dotted with temples of different dimensions consecrated to the numerous deities of the Hindu pantheon. There is a local saying, every street should possess its temple. Most of them are dedicated to the various aspects of Lord Shiva, the great god. There are others consecrated to Vishnu or to the great goddess or to Ganapati or to his brother Subramanya. The local inhabitants, aware that they are living in a sacred place, feel a strong urge to worship. I learnt that towards the northeast of the Sarvatirtha tank is an immense Shiva temple which goes under the name Ekamranatheshwara. It is because of this temple that the section of town known as Big Kanchipuram is also called Shiva Kanchi. We had been invited to visit the pilgrim's house which is near the temple of the goddess Kamakshi. It is here that Sri Mahaswami resides alternatively with the hut at the Sarvatirtha reservoir. In his absence, we were able to enter the place. It was a very old house constructed by its founder to provide accommodation for pilgrims who had come from far away to worship in the temples of the town. After just 3 steps inside, we found ourselves in a large square hall which was rather dark. It was about 12 meters long and lined on both sides with 4 small low windowless cells separated from the central hall by short and thick doors. At the far end of the hall was a cramped room for the puja and then the kitchen and storerooms. It was possible to come out of the hall at its left corner onto a small courtyard from where, by a covered veranda, one reached a large garden yard. Here Sri Mahaswami granted audience to certain visitors. I looked around a few minutes. Several coconut trees rose up that were some 15 meters in height from the ground, which was covered with fine sand. Each smooth and slender trunk had a small clump of narrow leaves. The temple of the goddess Kamakshi was just 20 meters away. The atmosphere of peace that pervaded this garden was almost tangible. Madras, Monday, 10th November 1969. The entire universe commences and ends. Today, I prepare to leave for Kanchipuram. It is 9 months since the previous visit and it will be my 3rd darshan. I woke up early in the morning and was helplessly embroiled in a fight between devils and angels. Do not go to visit this old figure. It is tiring. It is useless, advocated the devils. Go and meet Sri Mahaswami. The tiredness will disappear and the spiritual reward will be immense, whispered the angels. The angels emerged victorious, but the combatants left the battlefield, that is myself, completely wrecked. Monday is favorable for the worship of Shiva. The great God allowed me to recover my forces and start for his town in the company of a small group, a Dutch couple and a young woman, an American dancer. The journey unrolled without incident. We were able to enter the office of the mutt, the most refined, to my taste, of the staff in the office took us to Sri Mahaswami, who was at his hut on the side of the reservoir Sarvatirtha, which was about 1 kilometer towards the west. This time we could enter the compound. The atmosphere became denser and denser. I was walking like an automation. Shri Mahaswami was waiting for us. He was standing among the few tiny and scattered trees of the same garden as 9 months ago. I was walking barefoot through the grass with eyes firmly fixed on him. He was observing us as we approached. The mud staff member pointed to where we should stop and prostrate. Shri Mahaswami showed some gesture of opposition with his hand, as if he did not deserve such an honor. I had stretched myself on the ground and was controlling my tears with difficulty. For an instant, I thought that I would start to sob aloud. After so many months of waiting, I could see him once again. I looked at him now with more composure and saw clearly that he had an exceptional presence. One of the names by which he is known is Pratyaksha Devata, or seen deity. I attempted to grasp the meaning of this name more fully while in his company. I stood with hands in Anjali and tried to fix my gaze on his eyes. This time he did not look at me either directly nor exclusively. Instead, he glanced at me a few times, rocking his head from side to side. I did not give up and clung to his eyes, which I found more piercing than during the last darshan. His lower lip sags like a child, and he closes his eyes and directs towards me an invisible force that, although unseen, is clearly perceptible. For a moment, I have the certitude that the entire universe commences and ends in him. Though I am fully aware and in command of my critical senses, it is a certainty which evades description. He breathes deeply and shows by signs, as he was still not speaking, that he accepts that the mutt member had offered him on my behalf. It was the Ramayana in Romanian, the translation from English of a condensed version of the great Indian epic by a contemporary Indian writer from Madras. I had just received the book, which was sent to me from Romania by a friend. I had told Sri Mahaswami of the existence of this book during the first darshan at Secunderabad. From his calming gestures, as if apologizing that he cannot stay longer, I make out that this third darshan is to end. I prostrate once again in the sparse grass. The earth touched by his feet felt so soft to me. While coming up, I saw him walking away slowly between the scant trees. As compared to such an accomplished being, how insignificant daily realities seem to me. Kanchipuram, 6th December 1969. The fourth darshan. Once again, I am in Kanchipuram, along with a group formed mainly of research scholars from the Madras University. An important guest from West Germany, Dr. K. von Wiesacker, also joined us. Sri Mahaswami was sitting on the threshold of his hut near the Sarvatirtha tank. We had to wait barefoot for 20 minutes in the rain until another group finished. In his hiatus, I absorbed the powerful spiritual atmosphere that was redolent all around the enclosure. We were then called one by one, with Dr. Wiesacker being the first. All simply bowed. I was the only one to prostrate. I stood exactly in front of Sri Mahaswami and felt that he was entering into my heart more than ever before. I could not utter any other name but Shankara. All terrestrial problems seemed vain to me in comparison with my main concern, the final liberation. Sri Mahaswami seemed very weak and was leaning against the wall of the hut made of woven palm tree leaves. He was dressed in ochre with the danda under his arm and the water vessel in front of him. He seemed to have shrunk in stature, and it was evident that his sight was affected. On the right eye, recently operated for cataract, there is a piece of white cotton which moves when he blinks. Only the left eye passes repeatedly, undulating like a fire serpent devoid of heat over our heads, across and through my heart. He is certainly in total union with that reality, Brahman, on which appears the illusion, Maya of the world, just as a mirage does on an infinite field of golden sand. It is not possible to hide from him, for we are he and he is the all. There is nothing emotional or hallucinatory in this, simply the acknowledgement of a self-evident fact. Sri Mahaswami blessed us, then stood immobile for a few seconds. Dr. V. Zacher was called once again by the leader of our group. The others greeted him from afar. As for me, I prostrated once more. While leaving, all of us remained silent. The leader, who had tried to obtain for Dr. V. Zacher a private interview, gave his reasons for doing so. We were informed that Sri Mahaswami had asked if Martin Heidegger and Werner Heisenberg were still alive. In me, the work already begun was continuing. My physical heart was becoming a place where a certain light remained stable, while the dullness that had continually enveloped me diminished. It was a clearly perceptible condition which appeared intermittently, a fact entirely acceptable to the reasoning mind. Devotees, let us close this episode and shall continue to listen to the second part of Sri Mahaswami, the sage with eyes of light, in the coming episode. Bowing at the holy feet of the Gurus, Aum Sairam, Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara.